On March 14, 2023, in suburban Raleigh, North Carolina, I started my first week as a long-term substitute for a second-grade class while their teacher recovered from surgery, and I wanted to impress the kids, so I asked them to draw "The Happiest Place You Know," using the big box of crayons the school kept locked in a supply closet. The morning felt normal. Sun on the bulletin boards, soft chatter, that fresh crayon smell. 21 kids bent over paper. I walked the rows giving thumbs up. Most drew playgrounds or birthday cakes. One boy, Milo, colored slowly in the back. He pressed so hard the wax flaked. His scene showed a gray house with no windows, a fat red door, and a stick figure inside waving. The figure's smile stretched ear to ear. Under the drawing, Milo wrote "home" in shaky block letters.
I asked where the house was. He spoke in a whisper. Below the class.
I thought he meant his real address, so I smiled and moved on. After recess, I collected the drawings. Milo had added details. The sky was black now. A thin chimney climbed from the roof, ending in a hand-drawn cloud shaped like a face. He had also shaded a crawlspace hatch beneath the house. I tucked the paper into my bag, planning to show the counselor. The day ended quietly. At 5, I stayed to grade spelling tests. The janitor, Mrs. Reed, emptied trash. She saw Milo's drawing on my desk and froze.
She pointed at the red door. I've scrubbed that color off the basement floor since the 90s. Where'd he get it?
She told me the building sat over an older foundation, sealed up after a fire decades ago. Kids sometimes drew that door. Teachers tossed the papers.
She said every drawing made the next incident worse. Lock it away, she warned, or burn it!
She wheeled her card out. I slipped the drawing into a filing cabinet. At home, the cabinet image stuck in my head. That night, I dreamed I heard chalk tapping under the floor. I woke sweaty, but brushed it off. The next morning, Milo waited by my desk before the bell. He held a new drawing. Same house, same red door. But now, a second stick figure stood outside crying. Tears pooled black. Underneath, he wrote, "Teacher." I knelt, masking nerves. "Who told you to draw me there?"
He shrugged. "The man in the crawl. He spelled it cruel."
I scanned the room. No one paid attention. I slid the picture into a folder and started math group. At lunch, I found the counselor. She sighed. Milo's file noted sleepwalking, speech delays, father deployed. She promised to call his mother. I returned to class. The kids lined up for art. The hallway tile felt colder. I kept hearing light knocks that matched our footsteps, but half a beat behind. During prep period, I Googled the fire. A 1974 article said a boiler exploded under the original building. One janitor died. His body was never recovered inside the debris. Name, Emil Crane. The article showed a photo. He had a long smile, too many teeth. The school day ended. I stayed again to tidy. A rainstorm beat the windows. When I opened the supply closet to lock up crayons, a damp draft blew out. It smelled of wet smoke. Crayon boxes lay scattered like someone had rifled them. On the top shelf, Milo's first drawing sat unfolded. The red door looked brighter, almost fresh. I shoved everything inside and slammed the door. As I turned off lights, I heard scraping in the hall. I followed the sound to a loose baseboard near Milo's cubby. Behind it hid a narrow vent leading downward. Inside the vent rested a crayon. Color, red. It was worn to a nub. My stomach flipped. Lightning killed the overheads. Emergency lights flicked on, thump from under the floor. Another. The tile under my shoes pulsed dust with each hit, like a fist banging from below. I sprinted to the main office, grabbed the master keyring, and followed the blueprint on the wall. A service hatch hid behind the boiler room. The handle felt warm. I hesitated, then unlocked it. Stale air sighed out. A wooden stair dropped into black. At the bottom, my phone flashlight caught drawings nailed to studs. Hundreds. Child hands in crayon showed the same windowless house and that wide red door. In the silent dust, I heard crayons scratching, though no one else breathed. I stepped deeper. The floor changed from dirt to old tile charred at edges. In the center, a real door stood, short, crimson, with a brass knob. Wax drips streaked the panels. The knob turned on its own. The door inched open. Inside was pitch dark except 2 red crayon dots hovering at child height. They blinked like eyes. My phone light dimmed even on full brightness. I stumbled back, slamming into a desk half burned, sending up ash clouds that looked like chalk dust. A small shape stepped from the doorway, a boy, but not Milo. His clothes were 1970s janitor coveralls cut down and soaked in soot. His hands held a crayon the size of a forearm, tip glowing. He smiled too wide. The hallway behind me creaked. Footsteps above. After-school club leaving. I realized the door was angled toward the ceiling joists right under our classroom. Heart hammering, I grabbed the nearest drawing from the wall, ripped it, and stuffed the pieces into my pocket. The boy hissed, crayon flickering. I turned and ran up the stair, slamming the hatch. I locked it, dropped the key down the hallway drain, and bolted outside into heavy rain. Next morning, I called in sick. The principal phoned at noon. The janitor, Mrs. Reed, was found unconscious in the supply closet. Smoke inhalation, though no fire burned. Around her lay hundreds of broken red crayons. My filing cabinet was empty, the drawings gone. My own jacket pocket, though, held a fresh sheet. The house again. This time, the stick figure outside was Mrs. Reed lying down. Under it, Milo's shaky letters said, "Gone home." I quit the post. Weeks later, a package arrived, no return address, containing a box of pristine red crayons and one sentence on school letterhead, "The class needs more color." That night, my niece showed me her latest art from kindergarten across town. A small red house with no windows stared back. The door was open, and inside a smiling stick figure waved with a crayon the size of his arm. On July 8, 2023, while house-sitting in Denton, Texas, I agreed to watch my cousin's 7-year-old twins, Logan and Lily. Their parents flew to a weekend conference. My job was easy. Feed the kids, keep lights off to save power, and never enter the locked attic. That last rule felt like a joke. The twins laughed whenever I asked why. They said the attic was for pictures only. Friday night went fine. We ate pizza, watched cartoons, and the children pulled out a shoebox of sidewalk chalk even though we stayed inside. They did not ask for paper. They crawled under the big dining table and drew on its underside. I peeked once and saw bright lines covering the wood like a map. I told them to stop. They promised to wipe it later. Bedtime came. They slept without a fuss. I checked the drawings next morning. The chalk lines had grown. New shapes climbed the legs of the table. One figure looked like a stickman with long arms, standing upside down, its head pointed toward the floor.
"He sits in the top room. He watches when we draw."
Logan nodded and showed me his palms. Pink dust coated them. I tried scrubbing the chalk. It would not smear. It felt baked in. I covered it with a tablecloth and let it go. We drove to a park. The twins argued in the back seat because Logan wanted blue chalk, Lily wanted pink. At the store, they each chose a box, but they also grabbed one thick stick of pure white chalk sold loose near the register. The clerk joked that kids still love the classics. The white chalk left powder on the bag that smelled like burnt wood. Back home, the twins ran past me. They dragged dining chairs to the hallway below the attic hatch. They stacked books to climb and press chalk along the ceiling drywall. I shouted and moved the chairs away. The ceiling now held a crude circle and 3 X marks around it.
"We're almost done."
2 more looks and he will stay.
I made lunch. The air felt heavy. The AC fan clicked on and off like footsteps above. I opened the attic padlock just to glance. The stairs folded down. Hot air blew. Inside smelled of dust and old crayons. No light bulb worked. My phone flash showed floorboards swept clean except for dozens of children's drawings pinned to rafters. All were white outlines of the same stick figure. Some were dated years back. Some carried Logan's messy signature. The most recent sheet showed a tall man reaching through a hole in the ceiling. That night, storms rolled over the house. Thunder shook windows. Power flashed out. The twins cheered and grabbed flashlights. They crawled under the dining table again. Every strike of lightning lit their faces orange, but the rest of the room stayed dark. I crouched to see the underside. The stickman now stretched full length across wood, his head drawn exactly where Lily sat. She used the white chalk, moving in slow straight lines, as if tracing something already there. I pulled both kids out and sent them to bed. They obeyed like dolls. I returned to the table and scraped one line with a butter knife. The white mark sparked, tiny static tick, and reformed smooth. My phone buzzed. Low battery, though it had been charging. The screen showed a new photo in gallery. It was a picture of me bending under the table, snapped from behind. No one had the phone but me. I went to the twins' room. Logan lay awake, eyes wide.
He said he needs a big picture. The table is too small. He wants the ceiling. When the circle is closed, we can trade places.
I asked trade with who. Logan pointed up. A faint thump answered. I decided enough was enough. I marched them to the car, planning to drive to a motel. Outside, rain hammered hard. The garage door opener failed. The handle stuck like glue. My phone died completely. The house lights flickered back but dim. The twins watched me without talking. Their pupils looked pale, reflecting lightning. In the hallway, paint flakes drifted from the ceiling where chalk marks spread wider, joining at the circle's edge. White dust rained down like powdered plaster. I grabbed a broom and scraped the chalk in broad strokes. Each pass left a smear that vanished after a blink. New lines crawled behind the bristles. My arms tingled numb from elbow down. A loud split echoed. The attic hatch cracked. The wood ladder slid by itself. At the top, a pale hand gripped a rung. Long fingers ended in chalk-white nails. Behind the hand, darkness breathed.
He's coming through. He only needs the last look.
Lily raised the final stick of white chalk. Only an inch remained. I shoved both kids into the bathroom, locked the door, and turned on every light. I dragged the dining table beneath the attic ladder. I climbed and kicked at the reaching hand. The space was empty now. Only paper drawings fluttered in hot air. One fresh page lay on the top step. It showed 3 stick figures, 2 small ones smiling, and one larger standing beside an open door. My face was scribbled on the big figure. Underneath, Logan's handwriting spelled bye.
I dialed 911 on the landline. Static answered. Over static, a deep voice repeated one phrase. Last look. The line went dead.
The bathroom fell silent. I opened the door. The twins were gone. The window stood open, though its lock was rusted. On the mirror, white chalk marks formed the circle and 3 X's. The stickman's head completed the center, grinning huge. Police searched all night. Rain washed footprints. No sign of Logan or Lily. Child services questioned me for weeks. My cousin could not forgive my failure. The attic drawings? Gone when cops arrived. Only dust. I moved to an apartment downtown. I sold every piece of furniture except the dining table. I keep that under a tarp in storage. Some nights I dream of scraping off chalk that will not fade. When I wake, white dust coats my palms, and I know someone, somewhere, is almost done drawing my part of the ceiling. On December 5th, 2024, in the small coastal town of Boothbay, Maine, I filled in as the afternoon art helper at Lighthouse Daycare because my aunt, the director, was short-staffed, and I thought 2 hours with preschool kids would be easy, so I set out big sheets of butcher paper, a tub of chunky crayons, and told the class to draw their favorite family member. Most kids scribbled moms with long arms or dads with fishing poles, but one quiet girl named Evie sat apart, clutching a single black crayon, pressing so hard the tip flattened, and when I walked by she hid the paper under her arms. I let it slide, thinking she was shy. Snack time came. The children left their artwork to eat orange slices. I picked up Evie's sheet to lay it flat and froze. She had drawn the daycare room in careful lines even though she was only 4. Windows matched, cubbies matched, but in the center stood a tall stick figure with a crooked neck. It faced a smaller shape that looked like me, Same ponytail, same blue apron. The tall figure held a rectangle over my head, maybe a box. Across the top, Evie had written in shaky capitals, "Take home." The creepy part? She used only the black crayon, yet somehow the stick figure's eyes glowed silver, like foil. I taped the picture on the drawing board with the others. 10 minutes later, I checked again. The tall figure had moved a step closer to my little stick shape. After snack, Evie returned, sat in silence, and kept drawing new lines that stretched from the tall figure's feet toward a doorway she added on the right side.
I asked who the person was. She whispered, "The man who helps me leave." Her eyes never left the page.
At 2:30, parents arrived. Most kids ran to hugs. Evie's mother was late. While we waited, the hallway lights flickered once, then held. A loud cart rolled by, pushed by the janitor hauling shipping boxes to storage. He wore gray coveralls and a key ring that jingled. Evie tugged my sleeve and pointed at the drawing. The tall figure now had a key ring on its belt and a box balanced in big square hands. She spoke 3 soft words. "He is ready." Goosebumps crawled up my arms. I pulled down the paper to check for smudges. The wax lines felt cold like metal. A drop of something wet slid from the drawn box and stained the corner of the real page dark red. I dropped it. The spot dried in seconds, leaving no mark. 3 p.m. storm clouds dimmed the windows. My aunt asked me to help the janitor carry last-minute donation boxes to the curb because the truck had arrived. I followed the janitor to the storage hall. He was new. He never spoke. His name tag just read R. Each box felt too light, almost empty, yet labeled "Handle with care" in thick marker. I lifted one. My hand came away streaked with black wax. I looked inside. Only crumpled paper covered in children's drawings, each black, each showing the daycare room from above like a floor plan. Every picture ended with the tall stick man leading a small child through a door labeled home.
The janitor set down his box, stared at me, then at the picture peeking from mine. "Art is heavy," he said in a flat tone. He bent, opened his cart, and pulled out a fresh roll of butcher paper and a brand new black jumbo crayon. He offered them. "Kids need supplies."
I backed away, heart pounding. He smiled. His teeth looked smeared with dark wax. I ran to the office. My aunt sat dazed. Evie was gone. The back door stood ajar, hinges creaking. On the floor lay Evie's drawing, larger now, taped to 3 more sheets joined together. The tall figure gripped Evie's small hand. They had passed through the drawn door into a nighttime street. I bolted outside. Wind slammed the door. The alley was empty except for the donation truck idling, lift gate down. Inside the crate I saw curled papers stacked tight. I yelled Evie's name. No answer. The truck drove off. Police arrived fast. We searched the building. In the storage hall, every wall was covered floor to ceiling with black crayon murals. In each scene, the tall man slowly walked a child toward the same exit. One new drawing was still warm to touch. It showed the alley and me standing alone, head tilted down, black crate already leaving the frame. Detectives traced the truck tag to a warehouse 20 miles away. They found hundreds of crates filled with children's art soaked in wax. No kids, no janitor. Security cameras showed static from the timestamp of the pickup to an hour after. Evie has never been found. Her mother receives 1 envelope every month. Inside is a single drawing drawn in flawless perspective, far beyond a child's skill. Each picture shows Evie in a new room, tall man beside her, doors lining the walls. Over each door, the same 2 words appear in silver wax. Take home. The police keep the envelopes as evidence, but copies show up in my mailbox too, even after I move apartments, even after I change states. The silver eyes on the tall man always glow when moonlight hits the page. The black crayon lines crawl a little farther each night, as if sketching the room I am in, mapping the distance the man still has to walk before he finally reaches the door marked with my name. Those innocent crayon lines carried doors no one should open. If these drawing room nightmares sketched a chill down your spine, smash like, share the fear, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our next dark stroke of horror.